Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how I apply builder gel to my nails and also how I use a regular pencil to help me get the perfect shape. I don't always use a pencil, but every now and then I do like to whip my pencil out and mark up my nails if I feel like my nails are starting to grow a little bit more crooked. So first, a little bit about my nails. You can see my index finger here. It has a little hook to it. My index finger and my middle finger both have quite a nice natural apex to them, but my ring finger and my pinky finger, the apex is a little bit flatter. So looking down the barrel of my nails, you can see my index finger has a slight C-curve twist in it. My middle finger and my ring finger are pretty normal, I would say. Their C-curves are pretty good. And my pinky finger has quite a drastic C-curve twist to the right. From this angle, I would like it if my nail could move and point more towards the left. So I feel like this part here should be taken off. But if I take too much off the sides, it'll start to give my nails a bit of a hooked shape on the side. I'm going to start out by marking my nails up with a pencil. I'm going to find the center point of my cuticle, taking into account the whole length of my finger. Because my finger is a little bit crooked, I want to try and correct that with these markings. Then I'm turning my finger around, looking down the C-curve and trying to find the center point there. Not necessarily the high point of my C-curve, but just halfway between my two sidewalls. Then I'm going to flip my finger back around and connect those two dots and make a line down the center of my nail. After placing that line, I can see that I need to take a little bit off the right side to correct this shape. But I'm also going to be shortening my nails and changing shape to a coffin or ballerina shape, so I'm going to mark that off as well. Using the pencil gives me the opportunity to make sure that I really do like the shape before I file the nails, because obviously with natural nails, once you have filed them, you can't put it back unless of course you use some sort of enhancement. I'm next taking my file and I'm gently filing the shape. I'm following the lines that I have put down. When it comes to filing the sides of the free edge, I make sure that I hold my file at a 45-degree angle or less. You want the file to be flat or 45 degrees. If you go 90 degrees straight to the nail, you will take out too much of the side structure of the nail and it will look hooked. By having your file at a 45-degree angle or less, you get a nice straight line from your finger to the end of your nail. When you look down the barrel of my nail, you can see that my nail is still crooked, and it will always be crooked from this angle, but for me this positioning here is the more important angle. What it looks like looking down the C curve of the nail is not so important to me. My nails are now all filed and the shape is looking pretty good to me. They're looking a little less crooked than they were when we started, at least I think they are. Now I need to remove the pencil line, and I just do that with a lint-free wipe and some isopropyl alcohol, but you could use a nail polish remover if that's what you've got. Now I already prepped my nails yesterday, so I'm just going to go on with my gel application. If you want to see how I prep my nails, I will leave that linked in the description and in the cards, but I'm just going in with a thin coat of gel base coat. And I'm applying that to the whole nail, making sure to cap the free edge, not just the tip of the nail, but also those sides of the free edge as well. Next I'm taking my gel brush and a small bead of gel. I'm using the Accents Crystal Clear Builder Gel. I'm just applying this like I would a gel colour, just a thin layer covering my whole nail. I like to apply a thin layer and cure it first because this helps me with heat spike. I find if I go straight into building my apex, I'll get quite a big heat spike, and by doing this layer first and curing it, it reduces the amount of heat spike I get, if that makes any sense at all. So I just smooth that on, and I try and even out anywhere that has really low or really high points so that it is a little bit more smooth. But I do find that if I just let it sit for a few seconds, that it levels itself out. You can see here after sitting for a few seconds that the gel has self-leveled quite a lot and it's looking a lot smoother. I then flip my hand upside down and let it sit for maybe 10 to 20 seconds to pull the gel towards the middle of my nail and away from the sidewalls, and then I pop it into my light and I cure it for 30 to 60 seconds. It's going to depend on your gel and what your products say. Once that has cured, I'm going in with another smaller bead of gel and I'm just putting on a really thin layer. This is going to be my slip layer, and this is going to help my apex bead to move around the nail a lot easier. I do not cure this, and then I grab a larger bead of gel, still not a huge bead because this is only a small nail, and I'm placing that at the apex area of my nail, so that's towards the back third near the cuticle, not touching the cuticle but in the back third towards the cuticle. And then I'm going to slowly spread that around, keeping most of the product in the apex area but just blending it into the rest of the nail. Having that slip layer down really helps to blend this bead into the rest of the nail. How you get the structure, the method that you use to get the structure, is not as important as the structure itself. As long as you have a good nail structure, how you get there is less important. So I make sure to turn my nail at all different angles so that I can see where I have low points, and then I use my gel brush very lightly to just move the gel around. You don't need to use a lot of pushing to move the gel. As long as you're connected to the gel, it will follow your brush. This doesn't have to be 100% smooth because I always like to go in and finish file it anyway. If you manage to get your application perfect, then you would be able to go straight on top with your gel color. But as I just said, I do like to finish file mine anyway, just so that way I get the perfect shape that I can, because my application is never 100% perfect. Once I'm happy with that, I let it settle for a few seconds, check the shape again, flip my hand over for 10 to 20 seconds again, and then I cure it in my lamp. Now I'm repeating that same process on my other nails. On my ring finger, I've already applied base coat and the first initial layer of gel. I then applied my slip layer, and now I'm applying an apex bead, and I'm spreading that over the whole nail again, making sure to keep the bulk of the gel in my apex area. On my index and middle finger, I just did a coat of base coat and then 2 coats of builder gel. I didn't build an apex because I felt like they didn't need any additional apex adding to them. And then once they are all cured, I went in and removed the tacky layer. Now it's time to finish file the nails. I can't use my pencil at this stage because my nails are shiny, so I'm just going to go in and do a general file over the entire nail just to smooth out any obvious high points or low points on the nail. Because builder gel is quite soft, you do want to be gentle with your filing, otherwise you can easily file too much off and then it's a pain to have to get your gel back out and put on more. I'm constantly moving my hand into different positions to make sure that I am filing evenly. I also move my file to the curves of my nail. I don't want to hold my file flat because then I will file my nail flat. You want to make sure that the nail is nice and thin at the cuticle and the free edge, and that the bulk of the gel is at the apex point of the nail. I'm using my file in almost a rocking motion to get a nice rounded shape to the C curve of the nail. Now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to look at my nail at all different angles, and I'm going to just mark off any areas that I think are a little bit bulky. Just kind of scribble on the areas that I want to file down a little bit more. So there's a little bit here by the cuticle, and I'm going to look down the C curve, and I feel like the sidewalls are a little bit bulky. Generally my high points tend to be on the same side of the nail because I struggle to file that side of the nail on myself. So just mark off all of the high points This one I decided my cuticle needed a little bit more filing. Then I'm going to take my file and I'm just going to file over those areas. As you file, it takes off the pencil markings, so you can file a little bit and then check again if you still feel like there is more bulk to take off. Remember, gel is very soft, so it does file away quicker than you might expect. You're better to take a little bit off and then check and take off more if you need to. I feel like the pencil really helps you to measure twice and cut once, if you know what I mean, if that makes any sense in nail terms. Once I'm happy with that, I just remove the dust and wipe them with isopropyl alcohol. I then triple check that I'm happy with my nail shape. I hope you can see that my apex on my ring finger and pinky finger has improved. It's not a huge apex because that's not what I wanted, but it has improved. You can see that my pinky finger especially, and my index finger as well, are still slightly crooked, and that's just the way they're always going to be as my natural nails. I do feel like I'm going to chop them all off in the coming weeks and replace them with extensions just for a bit of a change. So if you were a normal person, at this point you would go in and apply your nail color, but because I like to change my nails often, I'm going to go in and apply a top coat, and then on top of that I would use a peel off base coat and then apply my gel color. So once I've applied my top coat, I just make sure that I don't have any high points from the top coat, and then I flip my nail upside down just to make sure that all the gel pools in the center of my nail rather than in the side walls, and remove the tacky layer. And those are the finished nails. You can see now my nails are quite strong and they just give me a little bit more security that I'm not going to break one accidentally. I hope you found this video useful. If you'd like me to do a more in-depth video on gel application, I could do that. I could do maybe a real-time video of application on a single nail or a couple of nails. I know a lot of this was sped through, but I felt like it was a bit boring and repetitive to watch too much of the same thing. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for liking and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!